Williams Lane stared at his phone, hands trembling as his lawyer's voice cracked through the speaker. Your wife's been planning this for 6 months, and what she's about to do in the next 72 hours will destroy everything you've built. Your career, your reputation, your entire future. But Williams, there's something else. Something worse than the affair. Worse than the money she's stealing. When you hear what she told him about you, what she's been documenting, what she's planning to claim happened behind closed doors, you need to sit down for this. The line went silent for 3 agonizing seconds before Gerald whispered the words that would shatter Marcus's world. She's been building a case that could send you to prison. But before we continue with this beautiful story, please kindly subscribe to this channel and comment where you are watching from, and also share below. What life or relationship challenge are you facing right now, or what's someone you know going through? Don't forget to like this video as well. All these mean a lot to us. Williams Lane had exactly 47 minutes before his world collapsed, though he didn't know it yet. He was sitting in his corner office on the 32nd floor, staring at his phone screen with the kind of smile that only came from genuine happiness. The text from his wife Christy read, "Can't wait to celebrate tonight. I have a surprise for you too." 7 years of marriage, and she still found ways to make him feel like the luckiest man alive. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Gerald Patterson, his attorney and college roommate. "Need you in my office, now. Don't tell Christy." Williams's stomach dropped. Gerald never texted like that. Never. In 20 years of friendship, Gerald had always been the calm one, the rational voice. This felt wrong. The drive to Gerald's office took 12 minutes, but it felt like hours. Williams kept replaying Christy's text in his mind. The surprise. Her excitement about his promotion to VP of Operations. The way she'd kissed him that morning, lingering just a moment longer than usual. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. Gerald's receptionist waved him through immediately, her face carefully neutral in a way that screamed something was very wrong. Gerald stood as Williams entered, and for the first time since law school, Williams saw fear in his friend's eyes. "Sit down," Gerald said. "Just tell me." Gerald pulled out a manila folder, the kind that held documents that changed lives. "A colleague of mine specializes in family law. She contacted me this morning because she recognized Christy's name when a mutual client came in yesterday." Williams felt his heartbeat in his throat. "What are you talking about?" "Christy hired a divorce attorney 6 months ago, but that's not the worst part." Gerald opened the folder. "She's been systematically preparing to destroy you financially. She's documented everything, allegedly inflated claims about emotional abuse, fabricated stories about you threatening her, even photos that have been manipulated to make it look like you grabbed her during arguments that never happened." The room tilted. "That's impossible. Christy would never." "There's more." Gerald slid a printed email across the desk. "This is from her attorney to a forensic accountant. They've been studying your company's financial structure for months. Christy knows about the stock options you're getting with the VP promotion. She's timing the divorce to maximize her take." Williams couldn't breathe. The words on the page blurred together. Marital assets, strategic timing, emotional distress damages. This wasn't his Christy. This couldn't be his Christy. "How did you get these?" Williams whispered. "My colleague is sick over this. She didn't know Christy was my best friend's wife until yesterday. Client confidentiality only goes so far when there's evidence of potential fraud and perjury. She's risking her career telling me this, Williams. That's how serious this is." Williams's hands were shaking. "Why would Christy do this? We're happy. Read page 7. Williams flipped through the documents until he found it. An email exchange between Christy and someone named Derek. The subject line read, "Timeline for M." "M is you," Gerald said quietly. "Williams." The emails were clinical, strategic. Christy and this Derek person discussing the best time to file, how to maximize the settlement, which behaviors to document. And then Williams saw it, a line that made his blood run cold. "Once we're done with M and get the money, we can finally start our real life together. Just a few more months of playing the devoted wife." Who's Derek? Williams's voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Derek Morrison. He works in your company's acquisitions department. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. 8 months. Williams thought back. 8 months ago was when Christy started going to yoga class 3 times a week, when she started getting her hair done more often, when she bought new lingerie that she wore for him, smiling like she had a secret. She did have a secret, just not the kind he'd imagined. There's something else, Gerald said, and Williams almost laughed because what else could there possibly be? The documents show she's been working with Derek to gather confidential information about your company's upcoming merger. Information that could tank the deal or make certain people very rich if they know how to play it. That's corporate espionage. Yes. Williams stood up, paced to the window, pressed his forehead against the cold glass. Below, people walked through their normal lives, unaware that 32 floors above them, someone's entire existence was disintegrating. If you're enjoying this story so far, pause and comment, "I am enjoying this story," below. What do I do? Williams asked. Gerald's expression hardened into something Williams had only seen in courtrooms. You do exactly what she's been doing. You prepare, you document, and you protect yourself before she destroys you. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it. And Williams, you have less time than you think. According to the timeline in those emails, she's planning to serve you with papers next Friday, right after your promotion becomes official and your stock options vest. 6 days. Williams had 6 days before his wife, the woman who still kept their wedding photo on her nightstand, who had stood by him through his father's death and his company's near bankruptcy, who had held him while he cried and laughed at his terrible jokes, would try to destroy him. Tonight, Williams said slowly. She said she has a surprise for me tonight. Gerald's jaw tightened. Yeah, I'd be very careful about that surprise. Williams drove home in a fog. Every memory felt contaminated now. Had she ever loved him? Were all those moments, the late-night conversations, the lazy Sunday mornings, the way she'd nursed him through pneumonia last winter, were they all performances? He pulled into their driveway at 6:30. Christy's car was already there. Through the kitchen window, he could see her moving around, preparing dinner. She looked up, saw his car, and waved with a bright smile. The same smile she'd given him on their wedding day. William sat in his car for a long moment, watching his wife through the window. This woman who was planning to destroy him, this stranger he'd shared a bed with for 7 years. His phone buzzed, a text from Gerald. I'm getting a private investigator on this tonight. Don't confront her until we have everything documented. Act normal. Act normal. How was he supposed to act normal when his entire life was a lie? Williams took a deep breath and got out of the car. Christy met him at the door, still wearing that smile, and kissed him like she always did. Like she loved him, like she wasn't counting down the days until she could betray him. You're home late, she said. Everything okay? Traffic was terrible. Something smells amazing. Your favorite. Beef Wellington. I wanted tonight to be special. She took his hand, led him to the kitchen. I have something important to tell you. Williams felt ice in his veins. Was she moving up her timeline? Was tonight the night? But first, Christy said, turning to face him with that bright, lying smile. Tell me about your day. How was work? Williams looked into his wife's eyes and saw a stranger looking back. And in that moment, he realized that if she could play this game, so could he. Work was great, he lied, matching her smile with one of his own. Actually, it was perfect. Christy's smile widened. She had no idea that her perfect plan was about to become his weapon. She had no idea that the man standing in front of her wasn't the trusting husband she'd been manipulating for months, and she definitely had no idea what was coming next. The beef Wellington sat between them like a ticking bomb, perfectly golden and utterly poisonous. Christy poured wine into crystal glasses, the expensive ones they saved for anniversaries, and Williams watched her hands move with practiced grace. Those same hands had typed emails plotting his destruction. So, Christy said, settling into her chair with that radiant smile. My surprise. Williams's grip tightened on his fork. 6 days. He had 6 days to prepare before she served him papers. But looking at her now, at the carefully rehearsed excitement in her eyes, he wondered if tonight was going to change that timeline. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air like smoke. Williams felt the room tilt again, worse than it had in Gerald's office. Pregnant. Christy was pregnant. With his child or Derek's? Williams? Christy's smile faltered slightly. Did you hear me? He forced his face into something resembling joy. How long have you known? I just found out this morning. I wanted to wait until tonight to tell you, with everything special. She reached across the table for his hand. I know we talked about waiting another year, but sometimes life has better timing than we do. Better timing. Williams thought about those emails, the ones discussing when to serve him papers, when his stock options vested, when she could maximize the settlement. A pregnancy would complicate things. Or was that the point? How far along? He asked, doing quick math in his head. 8 months since Derek came into the picture. The doctor thinks about 6 weeks. I made an appointment for next Thursday to confirm everything. 6 weeks. Before Derek. Unless Christy was lying about the timing. At this point, Williams didn't know what was true anymore. This is wonderful news, he said, and watched Christy's shoulders relax. She believed him. She actually believed he didn't know. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Under the table, he glanced at it. Gerald. PI is following Derek now. Stay calm. Christy was talking about nursery colors and baby names, her voice bright and musical. Williams made appropriate sounds of agreement while his mind raced. If she was really pregnant, did that change her plans? Or was the pregnancy itself part of the plan? A way to secure more money in the divorce, to trap him with child support on top of everything else. There's something else, Christy said, and her voice changed, softened. I've been thinking a lot about us lately, about our marriage. Here it comes, Williams thought. This is where she starts planting the seeds for the divorce, documenting his reaction for her lawyer. I know I haven't been the easiest person to live with these past few months, Christy continued. The yoga classes, coming home late sometimes. I felt like I was losing myself, you know? Like I was just Williams's wife, and not Christy anymore. Williams's jaw clenched. This was good. She was actually giving him material to use against her. Every word was another piece of evidence that she'd been planning this, laying groundwork. But the pregnancy, Christy said, tears forming in her eyes, real tears or performance. It's made me realize how much I love you, how much I want our family. I want to recommit to us, Williams, to being better, to being present. If you're enjoying this story so far, pause and comment. I am enjoying this story below. She was good. Williams had to give her that. If he hadn't seen those documents, hadn't read those emails, he would have fallen for this completely. He would have held her, told her he loved her too, promised to build their future together. Instead, he smiled and said, I want that too. His phone buzzed again. This time he excused himself to the bathroom, where Gerald's text made his blood run cold. PI followed Derek to a jewelry store. He bought an engagement ring. Christy's playing you both. William stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. His wife was downstairs, possibly pregnant with another man's child, planning to divorce him while simultaneously telling him she wanted to recommit to their marriage. And her boyfriend had just bought her an engagement ring. The sheer audacity of it was almost impressive. When Williams returned to the dining room, Christy had cleared the dishes and was sitting on the couch with photo albums spread out around her. I was looking at these earlier, she said. Remember this? It was their honeymoon in Santorini, Christy in a white sundress, Williams with his arm around her, both of them laughing at something he couldn't remember now. They looked happy. They looked in love. Had it ever been real? We were so young, Christy said softly. We were happy, Williams corrected, and watched something flicker across her face. Guilt? Regret? Or was she just that good at pretending? His phone rang. Gerald. I need to take this, Williams said. Work thing. He stepped into his home office, closed the door. What? The PI got photos of Derek and Christy together from 2 weeks ago. They're pretty damning, Williams. But here's the thing. We pulled Derek's financial records. He's broke, completely leveraged. That ring he bought, he paid for it with a credit card that's already maxed out. So Christy doesn't know. She thinks she's trading you for a wealthier man. But Derek's been embezzling from your company to maintain his lifestyle. He's under investigation, but it hasn't gone public yet. When it does, he's going to prison. Williams leaned against his desk, processing. Christy was planning to leave him for a criminal who was about to lose everything. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't his life. There's more, Gerald said. The pregnancy. I had a buddy at the hospital check the records. Don't ask me how. Christy's appointment isn't next Thursday. It's tomorrow. And it's not with an OB. It's with a fertility specialist. What does that mean? It means either she's been having trouble getting pregnant and hasn't told you, or she's not pregnant at all. The test she showed you could have been anyone's, or faked. We need to know if there's really a baby, Williams, because if there is, you need a paternity test yesterday. After hanging up, Williams sat in his office for a long moment. Through the door, he could hear Christy humming while she cleaned up. The same song she always hummed. The same routine they'd had for years. How much of it had been real? He opened his laptop and started doing what Christy had been doing for 6 months, documenting everything. He forwarded Gerald's text to a secure email. He backed up all their financial records to a cloud account Christy didn't know about. He prepared for war. When he returned to the living room, Christy was curled up on the couch, looking vulnerable and small. "Is everything okay with work?" she asked. "Just some issues with the merger. Nothing I can't handle." She patted the cushion next to her. "Come sit with me. Let's talk about baby names." William sat down, let her snuggle against him, felt her hand on his chest. This close, he could smell her perfume, the same one she'd worn since college. Some things, at least, were consistent. "I was thinking if it's a girl, maybe Emma," Christy said, "after your mom." His mother, who had died when he was 16, who Christy had never met but had heard countless stories about, using his dead mother's name for a baby that might not even be his, that might not even exist. "That's beautiful," Williams said, and felt Christy relax against him. They sat like that for an hour, talking about a future that would never happen, making plans Christy had no intention of keeping. And with every word, every gentle touch, every loving glance, Williams felt himself hardening into something new. Someone who could play this game just as well as she could. His phone buzzed one final time. "Gerald, PI confirms Derek and Christy meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Her doctor's appointment. Want me to be there?" Williams typed back one word. "Yes." Christy looked up at him, eyes soft with manufactured emotion. "What are you thinking about?" Williams smiled down at her, and this time it was real, because he was thinking about justice, about revelation, about watching Christy's carefully constructed plan crumble around her. "I'm thinking," he said, "about how much things are going to change." "I know," Christy said, misunderstanding completely. "A baby changes everything." "Yes," Williams agreed, "it does." But what Christy didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that tomorrow at 2 p.m., while she was meeting Derek instead of seeing a doctor, Williams would be there too. With Gerald, with the PI, with evidence and witnesses and the cold, hard truth. And 6 days from now, when Christy planned to serve him divorce papers, she was going to discover that her soon-to-be ex-husband had learned her game, and he'd learned it well. Williams stood in the parking garage across from the hotel where Christy was supposed to be at her doctor's appointment. Gerald was beside him, the PI in an unmarked car nearby, cameras ready. It was 1:55 p.m. "You sure you want to see this?" Gerald asked. Williams didn't answer. He'd been sure of nothing since walking into Gerald's office 48 hours ago, but he needed to see it. Needed to watch his wife walk into that hotel with another man. Needed the image burned into his memory so that, whatever sympathy he might feel later, would die before it could take root. At 1:58, Derek's car pulled up. He got out, checked his reflection in the car window, adjusted his tie. He looked nervous, excited, like a man about to meet his future wife, not knowing his future was already determined. Prison orange and legal fees he couldn't afford. At 2:03, Christie's car appeared. Williams's chest tightened despite everything. She was wearing a blue dress he'd bought her last Christmas, the one she said made her feel beautiful. She'd worn it for Derek. Christie got out of her car and Derek immediately pulled her into his arms. They kissed, not a friendly kiss, not an affair kiss, but the kind of kiss that spoke of intimacy and future and promises. The kind of kiss she used to give Williams. "Got it," the PI said through his earpiece. "Multiple angles, time-stamped. This is solid evidence." Christie and Derek walked into the hotel hand in hand, and Williams realized he was crying. Not for the woman he'd lost. That woman had never existed. But for the 7 years he'd wasted on a fiction. She just checked in under a fake name, the PI reported. "Room 847. They're going up." "Now what?" Williams asked Gerald. "Now we wait. We document how long they're there. Then we go back to my office and file first." "File first? You're serving her divorce papers tomorrow, Williams. Not next Friday. You're taking control of this narrative before she can." Williams nodded slowly. Then something occurred to him. The pregnancy test. "Can we find out if it was real?" Gerald made a call. 10 minutes later, he had an answer. She bought 3 pregnancy tests at 3 different pharmacies yesterday morning. All cash. No prescription, no doctor's records before or after. The test she showed you was theater. "So there's no baby." "There's no baby." Williams felt something break inside him. Not his heart, that had already shattered. Something deeper. The last shred of hope that maybe, somehow, there was a reason for all of this. An explanation that would make it make sense. But there wasn't. Christie had just been cruel. 6 hours later, William sat in his home office while Christie made dinner downstairs. She'd texted him at 4. "Doctor's appointment went great. Baby is healthy. Can't wait to tell you everything tonight." She'd even sent him a fake ultrasound photo she'd grabbed from the internet. The PI had traced it to a stock photo website. The audacity was breathtaking. When Christie called him down for dinner, Williams had to remind himself to breathe normally, to smile, to act like he didn't know she'd spent the afternoon in a hotel room with Derek while pretending to be at a medical appointment. "The doctor said everything looks perfect," Christie gushed, showing him the fake ultrasound on her phone. "That's our baby, Williams. Can you believe it?" "It's amazing," Williams said, studying the image. "Can you send that to me? I want to set it as my phone background." Christie hesitated for just a fraction of a second. "Of course. Let me do it right now." She sent it, and Williams knew his lawyers would trace it back to its source within the hour. Every lie she told gave him more ammunition. "I've been thinking," Christie said carefully, "about the money from your promotion. I think we should put it in a joint account for the baby's future." There it was. She couldn't help herself. Even while playing the devoted wife, she was still maneuvering for financial control. "That's a great idea," Williams said. "Actually, I've been thinking we should meet with a financial advisor. Get everything organized before the baby comes." "That's not necessary. I insist. I want to make sure you and the baby are protected, no matter what happens." Christie's eyes narrowed slightly. "What do you mean, no matter what happens?" "Life is unpredictable," Williams said with a shrug. "I want to make sure you're taken care of." She relaxed. She thought he was talking about death or disability, not divorce. She thought she was still in control. If you're enjoying this story so far, pause and comment. "I am enjoying this story," below. That night, as they lay in bed, Christie curled against Williams like she always did. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Williams replied, and for the first time, the lie felt heavier on his tongue than the truth. The next morning, Williams woke early. Christie was still sleeping, her face peaceful and innocent. He took a moment to memorize it. This last morning of their marriage, this final moment before everything changed. At exactly 9 a.m., while Christie was at yoga class, real or fake, Williams no longer knew, the process server arrived at Derek's office. By 9:15, Derek Morrison was being served with legal documents detailing corporate espionage charges and a restraining order keeping him away from Christie. At 9:30, Christie's lawyer, the one who'd been helping her plan Williams's destruction, received notice that she was being reported to the state bar for ethics violations. At 10 a.m., Christie returned home to find Williams sitting at the kitchen table with Gerald and another lawyer she didn't recognize. "What's going on?" Christie asked, her voice uncertain. Williams slid a manila folder across the table. "Have a seat." "Williams, you're scaring me." "Sit down." Something in his voice made her obey. She opened the folder, and Williams watched the color drain from her face as she recognized the emails, the photos, the fake ultrasound traced back to its source. "This isn't," she started. "Don't," Williams cut her off. "Don't lie anymore. I know everything, Christie. The affair with Derek, the 6 months of planning, the fake pregnancy, the corporate espionage, all of it." Christie's hands shook as she flipped through the documents. "Who told you? How did you?" "Your lawyer's colleague had a conscience. Turns out not everyone is comfortable with fraud." "It's not fraud. I was going to..." "You were going to what? Divorce me and take everything while pretending to be pregnant with my child? That's literally fraud, Christie. Multiple kinds of fraud." Tears started streaming down Christie's face, but Williams felt nothing. "I can explain. Derek's been arrested," Williams continued. "Corporate espionage, embezzlement. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. That engagement ring he bought you? Bought with stolen money. Every gift, every dinner, every hotel room, all purchased with funds he embezzled from my company." Christie's face went white. "He's arrested?" "This morning. He's already agreed to testify against you in exchange for a reduced sentence." "Testify against me? I didn't know about the embezzlement." "But you did know about the insider trading. You helped him. Those confidential documents about the merger that went missing from my home office? We tracked them to Derek's computer, with your fingerprints all over them." Christie stood up, knocking her chair over. "This is insane. You're making this up." Gerald pulled out another folder. "These are the divorce papers you were planning to serve Williams with next Friday. We acquired them legally through discovery. This is your signature on the filing documents, dated 3 weeks ago. You've been planning this for half a year." "I want a lawyer," Christie said. "You have one." "Or you did. She's currently being investigated for ethics violations. But you're welcome to find another one." Williams stood up. "In the meantime, you need to leave. This house is in my name. You have 1 hour to pack a bag. Anything else you need, your new lawyer can request through the court." "You can't kick me out. This is my home." "Read page 12, Gerald said calmly. "The prenup you signed. Infidelity clause. You get nothing if you cheat. And we have documented proof of an 8-month affair." Christie's legs seemed to give out. She sat back down, her face in her hands. "Please, Williams, please. I made a mistake. I was confused. I do love you." "No," Williams said quietly. "You loved what I could give you. There's a difference." "The baby." "There is no baby. There never was. We both know that." Christie looked up at him, mascara running down her face, and for just a moment Williams saw something real in her eyes. Fear. Not of him, but of consequences, of the life she'd just lost. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "So am I," Williams said. "I'm sorry I wasted 7 years on someone who never existed." After Christie left, escorted out by the process server with one suitcase and her purse, Williams stood in the empty house. Gerald had stayed behind, making sure all the legal documents were in order. "How do you feel?" Gerald asked. "Empty," Williams admitted, "but also free." His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Lane, this is Detective Rodriguez. We need your testimony about the corporate espionage case. Can you come to the station tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," Williams said to Gerald. "It starts again tomorrow." "The investigation?" "The rest of my life." 3 months later, Williams stood in his newly remodeled home office. The divorce was finalized. Christie had gotten nothing, not because Williams was cruel, but because the prenup and her own illegal actions had left her with no legal standing. She'd tried to fight it, but every lawyer she consulted told her the same thing. She had no case. Derek got 6 years. Christie got community service and probation for her role in the corporate espionage. A plea deal in exchange for her testimony against Derek's larger scheme. Her lawyer had been disbarred. Williams's promotion had gone through. The stock options had vested. The merger had closed successfully. Everything Christie had planned to steal had instead secured Williams's future. But the real victory wasn't financial. One evening, Williams was at a coffee shop when someone sat down across from him. Her name was Jennifer, and she'd seen him there before. They'd exchanged smiles, casual conversation. She didn't know about Christie or Derek or any of it. She just knew him as Williams, the guy who always ordered the same coffee and worked on his laptop by the window. "I hope this isn't too forward," Jennifer said, "but I've been wanting to ask if you'd like to have dinner sometime." Williams looked at her, really looked at her. She had kind eyes, nervous hands, a genuine smile. She was real, in a way Christie never had been. "I'd like that," Williams said, "but I should tell you I'm recently divorced." "I figured. You had the look." "What look?" "Someone who's been hurt but is trying to figure out how to trust again." Williams smiled, surprised by her honesty. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who's been there too." They talked for 2 hours that night, then 2 more the next week, and slowly, carefully, Williams began to believe that maybe his marriage to Christie, as devastating as it had been necessary, not because he deserved the pain, but because he needed to learn the difference between performance and authenticity. 6 months after that coffee shop conversation, Williams and Jennifer were planning a trip to Santorini. Not to recreate anything from his past, but to create something new, something real. "You know what's funny?" Jennifer said one night as they looked at travel photos. "What? If Christie hadn't done what she did, we never would have met. You'd still be in that marriage, miserable without knowing it." "That's a generous way to look at it." "I'm serious. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us is actually the best thing. It just takes time to see it." Williams pulled her close, grateful for her wisdom, for her patience, for the way she'd helped him learn to trust again without even trying. His phone buzzed. A text from Gerald. "Christie's boyfriend just got out of prison early for good behavior. Thought you should know." Williams deleted the message. That was the past. This, Jennifer, their future trip, the life he was building. This was the present. And for the first time in 7 years, Williams's present was real. He thought about that day in Gerald's office, when his whole world had collapsed. He thought about the shock, the betrayal, the devastation. And he realized that Christie's lawyer texting, "Call now," had been the best thing that ever happened to him. Because sometimes, you need to watch your life fall apart to realize it was built on a foundation of lies. And sometimes, the destruction is actually reconstruction in disguise. Williams looked at Jennifer, at the travel brochures spread across his table, at the life he was choosing instead of the one being chosen for him. "Let's book it," he said. "Let's go to Greece." "Really?" "Really. It's time for new memories, better ones." And as Jennifer pulled out her laptop to book their flights, Williams realized he wasn't running from his past. He was walking toward his future. And this time, his eyes were wide open.